Hello, my name's Jim, and today's story is about vision in the afterlife. What can they see? What can we see as humans? There's a lot of confusion between them and between the relationship us living people have with them. There's Not everybody can see everything in the afterlife. Colleen and I, my sister, who works with me with this, we believe that it's a level thing. There's different levels in the afterlife. Lower level people are very restricted with what they can see, what they can do, where they can go. And of course, the higher level you get to, the less restrictions and more responsibilities that people have. Rightfully so. But we can go through. Let me go through some of this with you, and you can decide what you want to think. That one of the first places Colleen and I spent a lot of time at was Forgedale, an old ancient house not far from where we lived in Pennsylvania. And the first clue we get is we turn the recorders on inside the car before we get out. And we hear a man saying, look, with a lot of contempt in his voice, "Look at them." We record them. That's our first clue that they could see us, the first time. And later at that house, at some point, a woman mentions Colleen's shoes, fancy shoes. They were just sandals, but perhaps to that woman, they were fancy. Eventually, we move over to Hilbert House. And in one of our first stops, a woman says to somebody, "Hide," as Colleen and I walk in the house. And another woman says, "They see us?" Confusion. That woman didn't know. The first woman just hide. And that hide thing, that became, that got really squirrely at Hilbert. One of the very first times we were at Hilbert, we walked through the house just like we used to do at Forgedale. Walked through all the rooms in the house, just saying hello to each room, hoping to get a rise. Colleen's carrying a recorder. The attic was a strange place, and it seemed a lot of them would hide. They would run and hide in the attic. And one time, Colleen and I were up there, and a man asked, "Can you see us?" And of course, we don't hear him in real time. We have to hear him on these recorders. But he was worried. They're worried about this. They're hiding. At one point, I suggest that you look younger after you die. That you don't look like the ancient old man you are. And a fellow returns, "Yo, man, it's complicated." I bet it is complicated. And at one point, Colleen's holding a recorder, and a guy walks right up to her and says, "You are beautiful." Obviously, he can see. Now we're in Colleen's house. Our father had died. Colleen was the last person in the hospital room with him. It was her turn to stay overnight with him that night. And he passed, and she asks if her father could see her as he was leaving his body. Two men reply. The one was, yes, he could. And another man, "I saw you." Now, we're not sure if it was our father responding to that. Unless a voice is like crazy different, we can't tell. We can tell between a female voice and a male voice sometimes, but that's about the only distinction we get. It's different. We have a great aunt who we recognize her voice on the very few occasions she spoke, but she just had a very distinctive voice. Otherwise, we can't. Colleen was here in Panama at one point and goes back to her house. And she was asking her house if they could see her while she was in Panama. And a man responds, "Why, certainly." And another man, "Right, Colleen." Colleen's got a dog. She's always had a dog. And often she would put the dog outside for the studies, but not all the time. And if it was raining or something, she didn't want the dog wet. Because, of course, when we do these studies, we need absolute silence. And animals, it's hard to make them absolutely silent. So she's getting ready for a study. She's walking through the house. The dog's right behind her. And a man in the kitchen points out, "See the puppy?" And a child responds, well, Colleen turns the corner and starts down the cellar steps to hit the breaker to shut the power of the house down so there's no noise. And the dog, again, it goes right down the steps with her. And as soon as the dog disappears from the kitchen space, we hear a child, "Where's the puppy?" So, yes, the child can see the puppy momentarily, but once the dog is out of sight, there's confusion. There's more about the dog. Like I was saying, Colleen puts the dog outside during the study. But again, it was probably raining, and she kept the dog inside. She announces that in the house for my sake, because I have to listen to these recorders as well. And so to eliminate any confusion about noise in the house, she states that her dog is inside the house with her. Three different men actually freak out about this. Two guys say, "There's a dog in this house." And another fellow, "There's a dog in here." What's going on is they're telling people what Colleen just said. Perhaps those people can't hear. Perhaps those people can't see the dog. The men can hear Colleen but can't see the dog. What the hell's going on? I don't know. Just this past winter, Colleen points out that it was snowing outside once all the recorders were on. A person says, "Some of us know that." Not everybody can see the snow falling, but some can. It was back in November, Colleen was setting up a study. And she's got all the recorders out. She didn't ask any questions yet. And a man at the glass door in the kitchen must be looking out the door saying, "The bees are out." And at that house, her house is right on a lake outside of East Greenville, Pennsylvania. They often talk about the view of the lake. So obviously some people can see it. And the same thing here in this house. Like maybe you can see behind me. This house is surrounded by mountains. It's just the views out every window are gorgeous. And they often remark on these views. Some people can see it. And some people, it sounds like they're describing the views to their neighbors who can't see it. One time I was asking about travel. I suggested that perhaps they travel from this house up to Pennsylvania to keep an eye on my sons. A man says, "It all works from here." And another guy says, "We watch from here." Now that's crazy. That's, what is it, 1,500 miles? And they can just blow past Miami, Baltimore, Philly, all straight up into rural Pennsylvania. Nancy, years ago, asked in her house. There was 3 people regular in her kitchen. The voices are just regular every time she did her study. And she asks, "Can I see one of you?" And a woman replies, "When life is over." Nancy can't see him yet, but when she drops dead, she'll be able to see him. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. Subscribe. Super important for me. I'd appreciate it. Please get your friends to subscribe. Grab your grandmother and just get her on here to subscribe. She doesn't have to watch. Just subscribe. I appreciate it. Thanks. Have a good day.